Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to today's video. If you are just hearing my voice for the very first time, hi, my name is Fikemi, and if you're a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for joining me once again. Now today I'm customizing black soap once again. I got tired of using my solid black soap piece and I wanted something liquidy. So I came up with this oil-free liquid, almost creamy black soap. So if you'd like to see how I made this particular black soap, then keep on watching. So now, because the soap is going to be a liquid soap, obviously I'm going to be starting off with some water, but I'm going to leave all the ingredients in the description box. So if it's something that you'd like to recreate, then everything you need would be in the description box. I'm using bottled water as against distilled water, but if you are recreating this for commercial purposes, please make sure you use distilled water, because this is something personal. I'm going to be using bottled water. So after measuring this, I'm going to be starting off with making my soap base. Now this is my very, very good friend, the anti-rashes balls, this green Ghana soap. I've actually come to love this particular piece of soap. It actually helps with rashes on the skin. Now the next ingredient is, I'm just going to tear out my scale, is the anti-pimples or anti-pimples balls. I'm just using this for the very first time and I've heard great things about it. I'm weighing out all these ingredients so that I have an idea of what I'm using when I have to recreate this recipe sometime in the future. I was just winging it as I was going, but I had already measured out all my ingredients before I even started mixing this soap. Now I'm going to be adding this pink ozone Ghana soap. It's actually a great cleanser. And it's actually quite good when you are customizing black soaps. You could use either color, but I like the pink. I like pink. Pink is a very, very nice color. I don't know why anyone would hate pink. So I'm just going to make sure that the 3 soaps I've added to the water are saturated with water. So the next soap I'm adding is the white Ghana soap. Now, I've watched a couple of documentaries on how this particular bar of soap is made, and it's quite ingenious. So I'm going to be adding this. It's a great foam booster. It's a great cleanser as well. So I want the soap to be liquid, but also a very good cleanser. I need all these dead skin cells to fall off my skin. Now, the very last soap in this mix is obviously the black soap. And this is the traditional Ghana black soap. Like, if you haven't watched my video on black soaps I use when I'm customizing soaps, this is the traditional one you get from any vendor that is wrapped in the brown paper. It's actually made with a single oil, the PKO oil. So it's very, very, it takes to customization. It takes, you can mix it with a lot of oils and mix it with other ingredients and it would still retain its cleansing and foaming properties. Now, one thing with mixing soaps is that at the end of the day, you want to know what you are putting on your skin. I'm not just going to take any random bar of soap and mix just because it's black soap. I still need to trust the source of my soap. And also, every type of soap customization I do, I always figure out, what do I want these soaps to do for me? What do I want? What's the end result on my skin? So I don't just grab any piece of soap and say, oh, I'm customizing you. No, I need to know what I'm using or what these soaps are going to do for me. So I'm going to just make sure that all the soaps are saturated in water when making this particular liquid black soap. I didn't really want it so runny. I wanted something of a creamy consistency, but at the same time liquid enough that it spreads without any trouble whatsoever. I think this was the part where I literally made a mistake by adding more water to this mixture, but at this point I think the water I started with would have been enough and would have given me the consistency I was looking for initially. But at the same time, you can go ahead and leave the mix or the soap mix at this consistency, or you can add more water, which was what I did. So it's a given. If you want a slightly thicker paste with the melted soap, then add less water. If you want it a little bit runny, then add more water. I think that makes sense. So make sure you give that entire mix a very good stir. Make sure that every single piece of soap is coated in water. I had to, because I was going to do a cold dissolution, I wasn't going to use heat to dissolve my soap. I had to make sure that every single piece was saturated in water. Now this is the fun part. Because I'm not using heat and because I want to retain as much water, as much liquid in that soap, it's best to cover it with some cling film, or in my case, a piece of nylon. That was the easiest thing I could find. So just make sure that wherever you're melting your soap or you're dissolving your soap, just make sure that you cover it up. So this is what the soap looks like melted. I left this for an entire day. I literally forgot about it and came to it the next day. So this is what the mixture looks like when all the soaps have been melted. I know there are still some chunks in there that are unmelted, but because I'm going to heat this mixture in a minute, I don't really bother, or I'm not really bothered about that. Now the thing is, because I don't want to heat up this soap so badly, that's why I chose to dissolve my soaps cold, but you can dissolve your soaps with heat. Now the next ingredient I'm adding to this is some glycerin. Glycerin is a great humectant. It's a great moisturizer for the skin. And even though, yes, it's black soap tends to dry out the skin. So you always have to give it an extra boost to moisturize your skin. Now I'm using a surfactant in this particular mix. You can't afford to have a liquid soap without a surfactant. And this is a coconut-based SLES, sodium laureth sulfate. Yes, I know some people have some grief or some problems with SLES, but I don't mind SLES as a surfactant. It's a really mild surfactant, and it gives, or it produces, great bubbles in whatever I use it in. And yeah, you can use cocoa betaine if you have cocoa betaine, but SLES was what I had at home. It's readily available in most chemical stores, and it's, when diluted properly, it actually gives a great lather and cleansing properties to soaps or dishwashing or multi-purpose liquids. Now, because I wanted an oil-free liquid soap, like I just wanted to step into the bath and just, you know what, my skin is clean, I decided to use stearic acid as my oil component. Now, I was going to use shea butter, but shea butter it's a very heavy butter. I didn't really want that in my liquid soap. I still wanted it to have a dry slip. So stearic acid was my component of choice. And traditionally, shea butter has around 26 to 48% of stearic acid in it. So stearic acid alone in this particular soap I'm making is a very good alternative to having oil in my soap. Now, like I said, all my measurements will be in the description box if anyone wants to recreate the soap. So don't worry, I'm using a scale, I'm weighing my ingredients, I'm going a little bit above board with my ingredients, but I mean, it's soap, I can. There's room for some allowances. Now, because I was like, oh, I'm adding stearic acid, I might as well just add some emulsifying wax so that it washes off, or it rinses off as lotion. So I went in with some emulsifying wax. Emulsifying wax was not in my initial recipe, so I just, one of those things. So emulsifying wax went into this mix. Now I'm just going to make sure that I give this a good stir, and this is what it looks like. Like I said, I should have started with a little less water than I did because of all the liquids that I added to it, the glycerin and the surfactant. Now I've melted everything on a double boiler. This is what it looks like hot, straight off the double boiler. If you haven't used a double boiler before, I do have a video where I used a double boiler to make my creamy black soap. I'll link that in the description box below. So the mixture has cooled down to a great degree. This is what it looks like cool. It's actually a very creamy mix, which was what I was going for. I wanted a liquid soap that wasn't liquid and didn't have oil in it. So this was just something that like I thought about, and it really, really came together. So now that the mixture is cool, I was going to whip this with electricity, but man, NEPA, my goodness. Now that it's cool, I'm going to add my cool down ingredients, and the first thing is a preservative. Now, because this has water, I always advise that formulations with water, add a preservative to it. And then I'm going to be adding some sodium lactate. Sodium lactate helps with absorption of products into or onto the skin. So yes, sodium lactate. And then some stabilized aloe vera gel. You can never have too much moisturizing ingredients or moisturizing agents in a production, in a formulation, in a soap. It's never too much. So I'm going to give this a very good whip. I'm hand whipping this, but hey. So for fragrance, I'm going to be using powders, and the first powder I'm using is cinnamon. Cinnamon is amazing, an amazing fragrance in soaps and in creams. And then the next powder I'm going to be using is raw cocoa powder. The combination of these two powders was just brilliant. It was a very, very a confectioner's dream, like cinnamon and cocoa. It was just like, and at the end of the day, this really looked like cake batter. So the cinnamon and the cocoa, the fragrances were just divine in this particular mix. So go ahead and experiment with whatever quantities of powders in terms of fragrance, because like I said, I wanted this oil-free. I couldn't afford to use oil-based fragrances or even add any other thing to it. So it just had to be powders. And it also lends an exfoliating feel to the soap. So people that don't love using sponges, this soap will literally work for you. It has a great slip. It has a great feel on the skin. So yeah, you can afford to not use a sponge with this soap. So this is the final product. This is what it looks like. It's still going to thicken. It's still going to darken. Cocoa powder tends to oxidize. So even though it looks as creamy as it does, it literally looks like cake batter. But man, this is not edible. It's not edible. And it's paining my soul that it's not edible. But this is what it looks like. So as usual, I'm going to bottle up this product and ship it out to the respective owners. Every time I make stuff at home, everybody gets to use out of it. So as much as I can make, as much as I can bottle, I try to give it out as much as I can. So I have a sterilized 500 ml Boston round bottle that I'm going to be decanting this mixture into. It's just easier when I use these kind of funnel cups to pour into bottles like this. I couldn't really find any of my funnels. I have like 1,001 funnels and I couldn't find one, imagine. So I'm just going to decant into a bottle. Now this makes a perfect gift. You could gift this to friends, you could give this to family, or you could just even make it for yourself to use. It's an oil-free liquid black soap that has been thickened with stearic acid and emulsifying wax. It's not a lotion, it's not a cream, it's just my own take on an oil-free liquid black soap. Now is the moment of truth. I want to show you how this soap feels or how the soap works on the skin. And as always, I'm going to be starting off with wet skin, and I'm just going to be applying the cream or the liquid soap. As you can see, it's not really liquidy, like it stays even on wet skin. It doesn't slip off, and it gives an amazing cleanse. Like it washes the skin. Like when you are done using this soap, your skin will be like, you know, that feeling of being clean. You know that, oh, I'm stepping out of the shower and I have clean skin. And you can see that my skin is looking clean. Like it's looking clean. So if you do give this soap a try, let me know in the comment section, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.